Good morning. It's Sunday, August 11th. And what I discovered in going through articles yesterday is very interesting. It deals with our vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz. It turns out that Tim Walz has a long history with the country of China. And maybe that had something to do with Kamala Harris picking him. Because, as we all know, China is our arch rival for the domination of the world. So when Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz to be her vice president, she never mentioned anything about his history with China. And I think that was on purpose. Because I think many U.S. citizens might be upset with the fact that he lived in China for a year and taught English and math there when he was a young man. And he had visited China many times. But he is not a favorite of the Chinese government. He's a favorite of the people, but not the government, because he has criticized the Chinese government many, many times. He moved to China fresh out of college in 1989 to, as I said before, to teach high school for a year. And then he returned to the country many times. And he took American students to the country of China to tour the Chinese region. And the American students said they had great times. And politics never entered into their trip. It was all about learning the culture and understanding the people of China. So there is probably nobody in the U.S. government right now that has experience with China at the level of Tim Walz. So I believe that this little known fact contributed heavily to the fact that Kamala Harris chose Walz. Because she knows that if she wins the presidency, she is going to have to contend with China as a foreign policy rival. Because there is no thing that I can think of that China wants more than to be the dominant country in the world. And I think Kamala Harris, while she has not made this a campaign issue, has cleverly picked a partner that can help her in maintaining our superiority over China. Now, some Republicans, of course, have found a way to criticize Walz as being pro-China. But when you look at the long history of Walz, you will find out that he has continually criticized the authoritarian China-ship leadership. And Walz was in China at a tumultuous time. He got there after the Tiananmen Square massacre, when the ruling Chinese party sent tanks into the quiet student-led democracy protests. And when he returned home to Nebraska, he told the newspapers immediately how mistreated the people of China had been by their government for years. And he hasn't changed his opinion in that area. But he's an expert, having lived there and traveled there many more times than probably any other American politician. In fact, during his time in Congress, between 2017 and 2019, Walz went over in support for imprisoned Chinese activists. He met with the Dalai Lama, the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader that is hated by Beijing. And he met with Joshua Yang, the young Hong Kong democracy activist who is now in jail for his activism. So there is no way that Tim Walz is a friend of China, as the Republicans would have you believe. He's a friend of the Chinese people, and he recognizes the Chinese government for what it is, a totalitarian regime. So he is an excellent candidate for vice president, having all this knowledge about our world leadership and the challenge to that world leadership that China represents. So this is an aspect that many more people should understand about Tim Walz. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz should make sure that the voting public knows that we have a man on our team who can help us with our foreign policy related to China in the years going forward, when he hopefully is the vice president of the United States. Now, he respects the Chinese culture, but he has no respect for the Chinese government. And Beijing is probably more afraid and uncomfortable with Tim Walz in our government than probably any other foreigner in the world right now. So that's what I have to say. An aspect of Tim Walz that has not been played up enough in my mind. So I leave you with that this morning. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.